Hello everyone, I'm Captain Indifferent and I've got another quick video for y'all. I thought it would be fun to run another Reddit poll, so I went back to the Final Fantasy XIV subreddit and asked what their favorite side content was. I tried to group the content into similar options so that I wouldn't have to run like 4 polls before the finals, and I think that the group ones have enough similarities to not be too much of a stretch. I figured it would be another interesting video for y'all, especially so that in the future we can compare it with the upcoming Endwalker changes and the addition of the Island Sanctuary. With that said, let's get to the graphs. When I went into preparing these polls, I first made a list of all the different side content in the game that I could think of. I looked through the game and the wiki to try and make sure I didn't miss anything and came up with this list. Now technically, I could have done 3 Reddit polls with this list alone, but 1, I didn't want to run more than 2 polls because that would require at least 2 more to gather information for a winners and losers bracket and then a finals poll. 2, I thought that I could group some of these together, so I cobbled together 2 groups of 6 and called it a day. Later on, I would make changes to my choices, but we'll get there when we get there. The first poll contained PvP, Blue Mage, Deep Dungeon, Gold Saucer, Relic Weapons, and Ultimate Raids. I have changed Ultimate Raids to high-end duties in this graph, however, to make things easier to understand later. Gold Saucer came out on top in poll 1, followed by Relic Weapons and Ultimate Raids. Deep Dungeon and Blue Mage were very close with 93 and 90 votes respectively. PvP was far behind at 35 votes, only 5% of the total amount placed. Now as this poll was going on, I got a few comments. Where are Glamour and Roleplaying? Where is Hildebrand? Where are Hunts, Treasure Maps, and Crafting? Why are Ultimates by themselves? What is Deep Dungeon? So I took those comments into account for poll 2. Poll 2 contained Crafting and Gathering, which included Ishgard Restoration and Ocean Fishing, the other high-end duties, Extreme Trials, Savage Raids, and Unreal Trials, the Hunt and Treasure Maps. I put these together because they're both kind of the only open-world PvE we have. I suppose I could have included Fates, but I don't think it would have helped them any. Then we have Hildebrand, Scholasticate, and other side quests like Beast Tribes, Mount, Minion, and Achievement Farming, and lastly, Glamour, Housing, and Roleplay. High-end duties won this, followed by Glam, Housing, and RP, then Crafting and Gathering, Mount Minion Farming, and the Hunt and Maps down at the very bottom with 4% of the votes, but there were far fewer this time. There was some poo-pooing about grouping high-end duties and Glam, Housing, and RP like I did, but I think it's fair. They're going to be averaged out later anyways, so I wasn't too worried. For the finals, I took the top 3 of both polls and pit them against each other, so it was Gold Saucer, Relic Weapons, high-end duties, now properly combined to include all of them, Glamour, Housing, Roleplaying, Crafting and Gathering, and for 6th place, a wildcard, the combined efforts of Blue Mage and Deep Dungeon. I figured they both have their own progression systems and uniqueness to them, so why not? Spoiler alert, this wouldn't help them at all. High-end duties came out on top here as well, followed by Glam, Housing, and Roleplaying, the true endgame, then a surprise upset where Crafting and Gathering overtook Relic Weapons by 1 vote, followed by Gold Saucer, then Blue Mage with the Deep Dungeon with 8% of the votes. A few people commented with how they were having trouble deciding between them, as they do 4 out of 6 of the options, so I'm pretty sure we had the right finalists. There was also a polite inquiry as to the whereabouts of Glam Whoring and Limsa. I said next time, loafing around in Limsa may have to be its own option, to which they were agreeable. Please look forward to it. Now, around the time I was tallying the results of the final poll, I got access to the community tab on YouTube. I figured, what the heck, I could always use more data, and launched the final poll on there as well, without the Blue Mage and Deep Dungeon option since they had the fewest votes, and YouTube only allows 5 options as opposed to Reddit's 6. At the same time, I launched a losers bracket poll on Reddit, because why not? The losers bracket came back with Mountain Minion Farming as the winner, with a whopping 37% of the votes. Hildebrand and other side quests were next, followed by Blue Mage, Deep Dungeon, Hunts and Maps, and PvP back on bottom again with only 7%. Meanwhile, the YouTube community poll went pretty well, with just over 1,000 votes counted. High-end duties won out again, with 43% of the vote, followed by Relic Weapons, and Glamour, Housing, and RP. Gold Saucer beat Crafting and Gathering by 1%, which, since I don't have the exact number, was probably only by 10 or so votes. That was a lot of polls and graphs, but don't worry, there's still one more. I took all the votes, averaged them out, and made a big old graph so you can see it all in one place. Look at that beauty. Sure, you could say the high-end duties entry and I guess the Glam entry as well are stacked, but as the true endgame and the actual endgame, I'm sure the results would have been pretty similar. Also, The argument was made that some people do several of these options for mounts, minions, and achievements, but I still think it was a cool little experiment, even with its few flaws. All the better to learn from for when Endwalker has been out for a while and we can do this again. I've actually really enjoyed running these polls, and I sincerely hope the subreddit will continue to tolerate and engage with them, as well as those on YouTube that see my community polls now that we have access to them, which is super exciting. Thanks for watching, Warriors of Light. Look forward to the next one. Bye for now.